Hello everyone, this is Trevor. We'll be recording live for the very first audio commentary video for the Team Oblivion PvP Academy YouTube channel. Now those first two screenshots, that's deck setup for my Death Wizard, Trevor Skullblade. He is level 28 Adept. He does have a Balance Master equipped, so I do have balance spells in my side deck. For example, Judgment, Reshuffle, Sandstorm, and Helpful Mander. Check the battle order. My opponent is a balance. I start out by suppressing with Infections, and he goes and throws out a Helpful Mander minion. If your opponent throws out a minion that early in the game, you're able to go ahead and throw your own minion. You're not at any risk because your opponent only has low pips to actually cause some serious damage onto you. So if he's gonna throw out some help, you should throw out some help as well. Continue to suppress your opponent as much as possible. I already threw an infection, so I now will be throwing weaknesses. But it's better to have more infections than weaknesses in your deck, because it's better to cut their heals if they're in peril. So cut their heals more, and you're able to do a finishing blow the next turn or whenever you can. Another thing about minions is that they're very helpful to break away shields or to damage low bullets to your opponent. But in this case, in this duel, my minion is able to throw out weaknesses to help me suppress. If you have that, go ahead and take that advantage. So my minion and I did some teamwork and did a double weakness. He still does have two weaknesses on him. He just took out one, the very first one that I cast. And this minion did put on a balance plate on him. So if he's boosting up, I'm able to boost up as well. Still not very much threat. He does have the pips for the Judgment, but it won't be enough to actually take me out. It seems like my opponent is saving pips just actually for the Judgment spell. So always be careful. Make sure you keep those weaknesses up on him. Thanks to my minion, he did a plague, so he's now double weakened, and he can't afford to take away that balance. But if he's going to go ahead and use all those pips for a Judgment. And in lower level PvP, your opponent may have some treasure cards higher that are overpowered to your level. You can go ahead and use your own if you'd like to, but in my opinion, I don't use any spells that is OP for low level PvP, unless they're around my level range, like the spells I am using. Then that's just my morale. Since that Infallible is up, and with all those pips, I already know it's going to be coming pretty soon. When it took that infection off to heal him up a little bit. If you do have infections, keep suppressing your opponent with heals. Suppressing by cutting their heals with the infection, weakening them with weaknesses is what you can do to continue to suppress them. Cast a Feint on me. For me, believing in the heart of the cards, I got a Tower Shield. That Tower Shield is the difference between life or death. You can be lucky at times, and sometimes you can be unlucky. So don't be upset if you end up losing because you're not able to get a lucky draw. But In this case, if you know you're gonna fight a bounce, always carry an emergency shield or something, or a weakness to suppress. Anything to lower your opponent's damage so you can survive. I can't afford losing my blade, so I don't want to use a sacrifice. Discard all of them, including my death minotaur, just for a vampire. But I didn't do it just because I want to waste my blades. I did it because he did have open hit on him. So I was digging through it, 2 blades, and a trap. Did some decent damage and brought my health back up. Yet he is not at any threat. He only has 1 pip, and just infallible. Even with that, he won't be able enough to finish me off because he does have a weakness on him still. He's taking off his weaknesses, and you'd have to continue suppressing. Only if you're able to. Like myself, I'm not able to suppress at the moment. And what I'm doing, you're probably questioning why I have that dark sprite in my hand or in my deck. I have dark sprites, low attacks, and I put monsters on them because they do come in handy very much. Just to use 1 pip to do around like 200 damage can come in very handy, especially in low level PvP. I usually use DOTs, but if I end up not having it, I use 1 pip spells as a substitute. But I don't overstock on them. I only carry around 1 or 2 depending how my deck is set up. But in this duel, I only carried 1. Trying to break that shield and do a little bit of damage, going with the poison, do some DOT damage. My playstyle with this, with fire or death, is that I always do DOT to do damage little by little for me to do a big hit. So it'll bring them low enough for the DOT to finish them off, or the DOT will bring their health low enough so my pick can take them down enough. My opponent healed. That's the thing about suppressing. You always have to continue on that with infection or weaknesses. Probably around this level, most you can carry is about 4, I believe. So, if you're able to, carry 4 infections and 3 weaknesses. If not, carry 3 and 3 or 3 and 2 and carry cloaks and reshuffle early. But I always carry an emergency reshuffle in your side deck just in case. Since you have such a small deck, you're not able to. You always have to dig in for something you really want. So always carry that emergency shuffle, and then from there on, after you used it, be careful with your original reshuffles. Paul used all of his pips to bring him back to his prime. So that take it advantage. With that prime, if you still have enough pips, don't go ahead and use a one-shot hit just because you have all those pips. Save your pips, do little damage by little. Like myself, I use the DOT or the sprite. Since he already has 1 DOT, the fire elf will add on to the damage with my poison with a blade. So there you go, a little bit of damage there. Thanks for helping my minion. Go ahead with that awesome trap. Alright, so now I have the infection. Now I'm able to cut off his heals. And from that moment, what you just saw was either choosing to reshuffle or infect. Always think twice before I use a card choice. That's why I always cast first, and I always think during that cast and just stop. Or you can think before. Sometimes you might forget, but always think twice when you're gonna do a move. Tell you this, is this the right move? Always ask you that, and you gotta answer quickly because you do have a 30-second shot clock. Kind of like basketball. You always expect pets to heal off your infections. Pets can be very unpredictable, but a lot of people can always predict what's gonna happen. So make sure you always put as much infections as you can as possible. That's the thing about carrying those special 1-pip spells. I do monstrous my spells. That's one thing a lot of people like to do. That's a very popular thing. Go ahead and monstrous. Everyone monstrous. But But the thing I am against though is the spells that are way overpowered. Monsters is one thing, because we did have strong at that moment. Or was it tough? Yeah, tough, I believe. So just go ahead and enchant if you're able to. It's safe to say I can reshuffle now. So at this point, it does take out my minion. If you do have another minion in your hand, and you do have the pips to use it, go for it. Go ahead and replace that minion. Must have always carry those helpful manders on my side, because with the balance mastery, helpful manders do help you suppress your opponent and boost your hits and shield you with any of those dangerous elemental schools. Like balance, they do have that spectral blast. With those shields on you, you're safe from that. Maybe it'll boost up. Since he did a balance spell on me, and I did have a balance mastery, and he probably did that on purpose because of my balance mastery amulet, because it saw me reshuffle. I have to get that dispel out as fast as possible. If you have any of the spells on you that will affect you, go ahead and get rid of it as fast as possible, because you never know. If you wait, it could probably be a bad call, and it could probably cost your duel. Go ahead and shield your minion if you really need him. At this point, I really needed my minion to break away the shields and support me with to blade me and suppress him. Go ahead with an open hit with my pet spell, the Death Minotaur. You have an open hit and you have enough pips, and you know you can do another big hit to do more damage. Go ahead and go for it. Like I did, I took that risk. I mean, not risk. I took that advantage. But you know, pets can be unpredictable. Can probably come out any time and save your opponent or save yourself. But don't depend too much on your pet. Thing about death, the special part about them, even with spirit armor or ice armor, they're just to save from damage, not from conversion attack spells like Vampire Ghoul, Wraith, Dr. Vaughn. So I'm going to do a vampire, bring a little bit of my health up and do some damage onto him. Fix my mana, do a sandstorm, take away some of that spirit armor off. Break off that spirit armor, so I did do a DOT, the poison spell.